President Robinson announces she won't be seeking a second term of office. The tributes pour in for her work at home and on the international stage. Eamon Dunphy says he never accused Proinsias de Rossa of being involved in special activities. And Irish punters recoup some of their losses with 2 wins at Cheltenham. Good evening. President Robinson ended months of speculation today by announcing her decision not to seek a second term of office. She said she had made her contribution and the time had come for the people to give a mandate to a new president. In a statement, the President said it had been a difficult decision, but with great reluctance she had decided not to seek a second term. She said the unwavering support she had received had enabled her to contribute to the development of the office. I believe, she said, that by the end of this term I will have made my contribution. The Taoiseach said President Robinson had symbolised the modernisation of Ireland and had brought honour and pride to Irish people at home and abroad. He said she was and continued to be a president for all the people. After issuing her statement, the President spoke to our special correspondent, Charlie Bird.
Well, I've found it very difficult because it is the greatest honour to be elected as President, as head of state of your country. And the last 6+ years and the time I'll have in the future as President will be a very precious time for me, very enriching, very special. And I know that initially some people will be disappointed, but I would like them to reflect, as I've had to do, that part of what I have done has come from the people. I went out and fought an election campaign. I sought a mandate. I said I wanted to develop the resource of the presidency and to bring it nearer to people. And the reason I was able to do it was because they were involved with me in the process. And that has continued. I've been enormously supported by the trust and goodwill and the political support and the sense of the office. And I think the most important thing is that there would be that fresh vision, that mandate that the people give to their representative, and that the renewal of that mandate is a great guarantee that the presidency will continue to be very close to the people and represent what they want.
What have been the highlights of your presidency?
It's difficult to say because it has been such an enriching experience. There have been many highlights, and they have been in small places, in rural communities. The smell of fresh paint going into so many centres and resource houses, and that involvement with people in what they were doing to change their circumstances, their neighbourhood, their community, and in a wider context. Obviously, it has been very important to me personally to be able, on behalf of the people of Ireland, to pay humanitarian visits, and to have been in Rwanda recently at an international Pan-African Women's Conference as a woman president representing the people of Ireland and being part of their building up their confidence and their self-development.
One area where you're particularly passionately interested in is the north of Ireland. Was that perhaps one of the considerations where you thought that maybe you could have done more and may perhaps have encouraged you to have stayed on for a little while longer?
No, I think that the emphasis that I placed on reaching out in friendship has been taken up very fully by a whole range of people. There are so many connections being made. There is a yearning for peace and normal relations, and every day I hear about new contacts being made. The Emigrant Advice Centre, there were representatives from Northern Ireland, the European Year of Racism, the CAJ were down from Belfast. Every single meeting I go to now, there are people there in friendship from Northern Ireland, and every organisation has representatives, and that's part of a quiet build-up of real friendship that is going to, I hope, help the difficult political decision-making.
And where do you see your future? I know you still have maybe 8 or 9 months of your term to actually serve. As you said, it's still, you're giving long period of notice that you're actually leaving the job. But where do you see yourself going?
Well, certainly I have a sense of the fulfilment I've had in this particular and continue to have in this particular position, but that I have also a real commitment, particularly in the area of human rights. And I would like to continue in that area, and I would be exploring the possibilities of that. I've already had a brief conversation with the Taoiseach, and I'll be discussing with him whether...
So there is a possibility that the government could look towards a position where the former President Robinson would play a role on the international stage in that particular area?
I would certainly hope so.
I want to be president for all the people, because I was elected by men and women of all parties and none, by many with great moral courage, who stepped out from the faded flags of the Civil War and voted for a new Ireland, and above all, by the women of Ireland. Maná na hÉireann.
Mary Robinson's victory speech in the RDS in November 1990, when she made history by becoming this country's first woman president, having defeated Fianna Fáil's Brian Lenihan in a highly controversial election campaign. At her inauguration, she repeated her undertaking to respect diversity, and she singled out community groups of all types for particular mention.
I will seek, to the best of my abilities, to promote this growing sense of local participatory democracy, this emerging movement of self-development and self-expression, which is surfacing more and more at grassroots level.
In fulfilling that promise, she accepted invitations from all around the country, from the smallest and most marginalised groups, resulting in an average of 1,000 engagements a year. President Robinson was also prominent on the international stage, most memorably when she visited Somalia at the height of the war there.
It has been a very difficult 3 days, very, very difficult. I found that when I was there in Baidoa and in Afgoy and in Mogadishu and this morning in Mandera, that I had no difficulty in remaining calm and in not letting my emotions show. And I'm sorry that I cannot be entirely calm speaking to you, because I have such a sense of what the world must take responsibility for.
During her presidency, she's visited Rwanda on 3 occasions, showing solidarity with the people of that war-torn country and encouraging a new beginning. She's also visited Australia, South America and India. Only last year she made a state visit to the United States, and she became the first Irish president to make an official visit to Buckingham Palace. President Robinson also involved herself in the biggest crisis facing this country, Northern Ireland. She visited Warrington after 2 young boys were killed there by an IRA bomb. She's also made many trips to strongholds of both communities in the north. On one such trip to West Belfast, she caused controversy by shaking hands with Sinn Féin President Gerry Adams. In recent months, there's been much speculation about what Mrs. Robinson would do after the presidency. What is certain is that she's changed irrevocably the job of all future presidents of this country.
The Taoiseach, Mr. Bruton, has thanked the President on behalf of the Irish people for her outstanding and unique service to the country. He said she probably deserved to be described as the best President we ever had. The Tánaiste Dick Spring, who asked her to stand for election, expressed his shock and regret at the news, though he said he understood her decision. Speaking from the US, the Fianna Fáil leader Bertie Ahern said Mrs. Robinson had served the Irish people with distinction at home and abroad, while the leader of the Progressive Democrats, Mary Harney, said Mary Robinson had transformed the office of President. And the leader of Democratic Left, Proinsias de Rossa, said she symbolised all that was best in Irish life.
Political leaders had been awaiting a decision by Mrs. Robinson on the presidency, but the timing of her announcement caught them somewhat by surprise. Within minutes, there were warm tributes to a president who had single-handedly changed the image of the office, broadening its horizons and bringing it to the people.
Well, I was sorry that it was impossible for her to seek another term, because I think she's been and continues to be an outstanding president. She is someone who has brought honour to this country abroad. She has brought people into the mainstream of Irish life, those who are outside the loop in terms of decision making. The President has gone to see them and has included them in the life of the country in a very, very meaningful way that only she has done hitherto in Irish political life.
And what are the implications of President Robinson's announcement for the timing of the general election?
I don't think there are any, really. I think they are two essentially freestanding decisions.
You don't think that maybe there would be an argument for having the two elections on the one date in the autumn?
Well, there could be. There could be that argument, but it wouldn't be an overwhelming argument. There would be some arguments in favour of it.
The opposition party spoke of how President Robinson had transformed the office of the presidency by bringing it to its full potential.
Well, I think Irish people will be saddened at the fact that she will not run for a second term. She's done a tremendous job, and Irish people will justifiably feel proud of the success and I think the great generosity and spirit and inclusivity that she brought to the post over the last 7 years.
But given today's announcement, should there be an agreed candidate for the office or another presidential election?
I think it was because Mary Robinson was elected by ordinary people right around the country that in many ways they empathised with her right from the beginning. I think if she had been an agreed candidate, she mightn't have had the impact that she has had over the past 7 years. So I think an election would be a good thing.
The news of the President's decision came to Tánaiste Dick Spring as he prepared for his meeting with the Northern Secretary.
Well, my response is one of shock and regret. Indeed, I'm sure it will reflect the views of the Irish people in view of the tremendous work she has done as President for 7 years. The fond wish of the people would be that she would have stood for another 7 years of office. At the same time, one acknowledges the great work that she has done and understands the decisions she has made.
Within hours of the announcement, speculation began on a possible successor to Mrs. Robinson. With Mary O'Rourke ruling herself out, David Andrews has emerged as a Fianna Fáil front-runner, with former Taoiseach Albert Reynolds also in the loop. The coalition parties, collectively and individually, say they have not given the matter any serious thought.
During her presidency, Mrs. Robinson made a point of meeting and helping a variety of groups, especially those on the margins of society. Today, they expressed thanks for her work, but sadness that she was leaving office.
The title of Brian Friel's play at the Abbey Theatre may have been just a coincidence. But as the President was ushered past a welcoming audience in the foyer, many groups around the country were wishing that Mrs. Robinson had given a different answer today. Bridget Murphy first met the President when she visited the Fatima Mansions development group in Dublin's inner city.
I'm very sad. I thought she would have took the second term. I'm very sad to see her go because she was really great for the country.
These were the type of engagements that the President fulfilled on almost a daily basis. But what was so special about a visit from the President?
The way she amalgamated with the people and the way she spoke to them just like if she was one of our own. And gave us the height of praise for all the work we were doing in the neighbourhood.
Before she became President, Mrs. Robinson represented the O'Reilly family in a case which won them a halting site. Later she returned to Limerick as head of state. Today the O'Reillys said she should stay on.
My deep regards goes out to her if she's thinking of leaving the President. And we wish her all the best of the world. But I would like if she considered re-joining the President because she was very, very good.
In terms of the North, she refused to accept or acknowledge contrived divisions between people and cross those barriers constantly in her role as President, and that is going to be a sad loss. Very few people who have taken the kind of risks that the President took and who have the kind of honesty and integrity to cross barriers the way she did.
President Robinson promised that Áras an Uachtaráin would become a place of welcome. The gay and lesbian community say she was a president of all the people and hope her successor will follow the lead.
It would be important to continue to recognise gay people as citizens of the country, that the president is the president of all the people, and that very much must include minority groups, and that gay people continue to feel that they are recognised and appreciated for their contributions to Irish society.
Mrs. Robinson has left a legacy which will be hard to follow. Families and volunteers working with people who contract HIV said she broke the barriers.
Well, we believe at Dublin Aids Alliance that our President, Mary Robinson, as one of the first public figures to recognise AIDS as an Irish issue, enriched the lives of those affected, and in doing so helped to remove some of the stigma attached to AIDS and to create greater public awareness of the issues involved.
And there we'll take